No, it was great when children were left behind. More children should be left behind. That's how we will actually educate a larger population. Jordan Peterson, which I will be covering right now, ironically does a very similar thing. Jordan Peterson used to always talk about cultural Marxism, and the Frankfurt School, and how cultural Marxism has taken over colleges and is rotting Western civilization to its core. Now, the original term for that was cultural Bolshevism, used by Nazis. Anytime you hear somebody talk about cultural Marxism, understand that they're actually just repeating the same exact fascist tropes all the way from Nazi Germany about Judeo-Bolshevism, cultural Bolshevism, and what Jewish people that were doing to erode the foundations of Western civilization built by superior races. You're just talking about a repackaging of precisely that. You can't just say cultural Bolshevism anymore because people go, wait a minute, that's what fucking Nazis said. What are you talking about? So you say cultural Marxism. Well, let's hear what he has for motivating Gen Z.
You're going to love this. I recently sat down with world-renowned psychologist and author Dr. Jordan Peterson. We talked about a number of things, including education versus indoctrination and his mission to fight the far-left woke agenda in schools, maybe your school, as well as why Gen Zs can't cut it in the workforce. Not all of you, but some of you, and how we can help them. You got a new study showing new 2023 hires are unprepared for work, they're unprepared for life. Dr. Peterson's take on all of this, especially for parents, is fascinating. Watch. When this study popped up, we thought, you got to weigh in on this. They say that Gen Zers come in, they're sincere, but if they have no necessary instinct on what to do next, find them a lot sitting idly by waiting for instructions on what to do next. Does that make sense to you? Something about this generation that would have trouble being self-motivated?
Well, I think that if you set up an education system that's designed to do nothing but demoralize young people.
It's odd to address Gen Z when you are absolutely tailoring this messaging and your broadcast to your true audience, which is boomers, their grandparents. This video is not cut for Gen Z. Not a single Gen Z eye will see this video, especially on television, maybe on YouTube, on accident, but certainly not on TV. Okay? The idea that a single Gen Z eye will see this is fucking laughable, which is the kind of attitude that I want you to have while you're watching this, because it's probably going to be tailored towards not necessarily Gen Z, but their grandparents. Like I tailored the next 3 minutes at the top of the hour to those who are subscribed. Okay? Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. And those who are unsubscribed, Gen Z or not, will not see the broadcast. They will actually exclusively see the ads. 3 minutes of them to be exact. Now, if you no longer want to see those ads, if you want to be a part of the people that is in the in-group of those who no longer see the ads and hear my commentary instead, then all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with the Twitch Prime, or by getting gifted a sub. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Gen Z soft skills struggle. Make change at the register. Work with others. Make eye contact. Deal with frustration. Stay off their phones. Take initiative. This is basically all... What was it? All millennials know how to be bisexual, eat hot chip, and lie. Charge their phone. That's so funny. My parents won't get the fuck off their phones. Yeah. Meanwhile, Grandpa definitely knows how to deal with frustration. And like, while he might not be on his phone, Grandpa's watching Fox News for 12 hours a day. What the fuck do you mean? Does Grandpa know how to work with others? Does Grandpa deal with frustration well? So dumb.
And to convince them that their ambition is dangerous and, well, even world-threatening for that matter, a manifestation of patriarchal oppression on the social front, and then a danger to the survival of the planet on the natural front, then, and you don't do anything to foster that ambition and to channel it into a manner that might be productive and to tell young people why their ambition might be useful, then you're going to get exactly that. So you hit what you aim at if you try hard enough, and the education system has been trying to demoralize people for 60 years. One of the things that really stuns me, you know, I haven't been able to figure this out yet. I've been trying to talk to Republican governors about this. I cannot understand why conservatives have been daft enough to allow the faculties of education to retain their hammerlock on teacher certification for the last 60 years. It's insane.
You mean the criteria to get the certification and what's
exactly.
in it?
You have to be trained in a faculty of education to become a teacher. Why? They're the most woke element of the entire rotten university carcass, and they have the hammerlock on 50% of the state budgets. You know, the conservatives are always complaining about the culture war. It's like, well, you handed all the young people to the faculties of education, right? Their research is terrible. It's low rate. Their students are generally very incompetent, comparatively speaking, on the academic front. You know, it's foolish, and this is the outcome. It's not surprising.
And it's a way to work on the foundation. And when you have an R.
Is he crazy? Is he suggesting that we just like just defund them? These godforsaken institutions, just defund them. They're churning out propaganda.
RNC chair or a DNC chair, if you have an agenda, that's what to work on. Don't get Mr. and Mrs. Candidate elected. Start focusing on the direction you want the country in, and find out how to give people an education that will allow them to at the very least think, but not what to think.
Well, the left-wingers in the 1960s were far-seeing enough, the more radical types, to envision a decades-long march through the institutions, right? And one of their goals was the capture of educational institutions, and that's happened completely. And that's been absolutely abetted by conservatives who tend to get lost in the details. And well, then you think now you have young people who are demoralized and directionless. Well, they're never taught anything about how to acquire a direction. You know, we did a study. I used this program I developed called Future Authoring. We did a study where we had 3 studies, actually, where we had university students sit down essentially for 90 minutes. Right. 90 minutes, this was it. And write out a goal, a series of goals for their life, right? Who could they be in 5 years across 7 important dimensions of their life? And where might they be that would be terrible if they didn't get their act together? We dropped their dropout rate 50% and raised their grade point average by 35%. 3 separate studies. So that's all you have to do if you want to motivate young people, is to teach them a bit of visionary discipline and encourage it. And we do the opposite of that. Plus, we terrify them. Trigger warnings. We tell them that everything's dangerous.
Yeah, dude, that's the... yeah, that's what's stopping children from learning, you know? Trigger warnings and stuff. That's what's terrifying children in schools is fucking trigger warnings. My man is perma-stuck in 2016 so hard, dude. This is such a fucking 2014 to 2016 era. Absolute idiotic, dumbass fucking take. I thought we killed this. I thought this was dead. I thought this was not a thing that people were saying. Like, who the fuck still complains about trigger warnings? Who? Actually, who? Is there anyone that's still like, yeah, trigger warnings? Like, it was a fixture of the permanently online when it was popping. It's completely silly. Like, is that even a thing still?
You talked about accommodation. So someone has ADD, they're told. Dyslexia or other things. Yeah. In the public school now, there's a lot of accommodations. I'm going to give you more time for your test. Yeah. Or things to that nature. I have trouble tracking across the line.
He complains about standards and guidelines, very much so at colleges. Okay. It is being utilized in certain institutes of learning. Okay. But does that mean that there's like any kind of discourse surrounding it where people are like, oh, you gave a trigger warning for this? This is fucked up. Like, are people even mad about it is my point. is there's still discourse over it. You know what I mean? This isn't being a petty bitch for his licensure being threatened for being a dumbass. Yeah, I mean, he was posting about how it was hard for him to find child porn on Twitter. No wonder they threatened to remove his license. Yeah. Don't throw Haz. That's a real tweet that he posted. Was there ever actually anyone who expected trigger warnings IRL? I mean, they will do it in like a college or something, in an educational setting. Sometimes they issue it before like, maybe not a movie, but like a YouTube video or something. Or a news broadcast, like trigger warning images and depictions of police brutality. But not a single fucking person would complain about it now because, like, people understand. Ultimately, you know why? People understand it because it's accommodating, okay? And at the end of the day, this entire project of humanity revolves around us as social animals coexisting, cohabitating the same fucking spaces. And in order for that project to work, you have to be respectful. You have to be kind. You have to be accommodating. And as long as those accommodations are not like insane, right? Like changing people's behavior or making it much harder to exist or coexist, then yes, there are always people that are going to get mad, or people that even take those accommodations overboard to the other degree, right? To the other side. But you just basically pick and choose things that work and move along with it. One thing that I said a long time ago, when tone indicators were being utilized online, one thing I always said is it's actually not that bad for tone indicators to exist in text, because it is absolutely, it's not like you have to use them, right? And people already use tone indicators in the form of emojis and emotes. But tone indicators isn't just for people with autism. It's just for everybody, really. It's a good way to communicate because man is a social animal. Now, you can fucking lose your mind over it and get mad about it and be like, how are these people communicating? It's so much worse now. Back in the day, I could just send an eggplant emoji and everyone would understand that that is my dick. It's a substitute for my penis. Now, I'm getting in trouble for it. Why? Because I did not use a tone indicator. I know the grand jury in Georgia is voting. Do not worry. We're watching. It's pack watch time. Okay? You pick and choose things that work. And the things that don't work, the things that are otherwise seen as silly, like Latinx, are slowly but surely shelved. Okay? Or relegated to the sacred halls of academia in certain circumstances. That's it. Birthing person. You will never in a million years see someone drop that in public when describing a fucking human being. Okay? It's just never happening. That is never going to happen. I go to the wokest fucking circles, okay? Trust me. The only time I've heard people talk about birthing person one way or another is always right-wing reactionaries getting mad about a problem that does not exist. Okay? Maybe in a medical context. That's it. It is so fucking dumb to get upset about it. Okay? Understand? It's just like this is most conservative commentary. Vice signaling about certain accommodations made that are not even nonsensical, but at worst just have no harm conducted to another person. Maybe annoys you a little bit when you see it. That's it. All they do is chirp, 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 chirp about this as though it's like eviscerating Western civilization. It's destroying Western civilization. If Western civilization is so indestructible, how the hell is it crumbling because someone used a trigger warning?
You think accommodations in many cases don't show progress, can be limiting. Why?
Well, the problem with the accommodation hypothesis is something like, the advantage is, well, You want to do what you can to help people who might have obstacles that could be overcome to learn. That's not unreasonable. But the problem with the accommodation hypothesis is, well, what happens when you have an actual problem to solve? You're not going to be...
There's nothing more hilarious than Jordan Peterson constantly chirping about accommodation, because this circuit that he's complaining about has not been accommodating to his lack of accommodation narrative. Like, at a certain point, everyone is looking for a hug box. And Jordan Peterson's entire gripe revolves around the circles that he was in academia not being a hug box for him. That's all his spite. That's what motivates him. That's what drives him. Obviously, money drives him as well, fame. You know, those sorts of things. He likes that. But he's just fucking mad that they won't accommodate him being against accommodation. It's always projection with these fucking weirdos, man. Freaks.
Accommodated. You're not going to be accommodated in a workforce that requires genuine competition. Because if you're accommodated in a workforce that requires genuine competition, you're just going to be taken out. There's no time for that.
Right.
You might say, well, there should always be time. It's like...
No, you fucking idiot. How can you compare education to like a competitive field like NBA or something? It's idiotic. You can't leave people behind. This motherfucker literally looks at like George W. Bush's No Child Left Behind and goes, no, it was great when children were left behind. More children should be left behind. That's how we will actually educate a larger population. I don't think he doesn't really want the accommodations. Then he won't have a grift. Yeah, that's true. There's that aspect of it too.
Like, well, not if there are important things at stake.
Yeah.
Well, that's foolish, right? Because when you're making important decisions, you're always balancing one catastrophe against another. You don't have the option that everything's going to turn out. And so the problem with accommodation, well, first of all, it's going to be gamed, and it's being gamed like mad. And second, it gives the person who's being accommodated to the wrong picture of the world to which they're going to adapt. You think about this with parenthood. How should you treat your kids? Well, as a mother and father,
Here's why I can never take this seriously, because the world is not a meritocracy, no matter how hard this fucking dingus tries to claim it is. Not a meritocracy at all. That's why people get so mad at nepotism. It's like, dude, listen. Affluent families are able to have accommodations made for them in the form of not having to have their child work a job, for example, while they're going to school. Okay? There is no real meritocracy, pure grit, because there is no real base level of material equality. Jordan Peterson used to always say, equality of outcome is not what we want. We want equality of opportunity, which we have. And now these neo-Marxist postmodernists want equality of outcome. It's like, no, dumbass. Point to me a single place in society where there has ever been equality of opportunity truly established. It does not exist. That's what people are advocating for. That's what people want. Equality of opportunity. You are just using yet another straw man to make it seem like equality of opportunity is actually just equality of outcome. It's so stupid. Bro, you nail him so well. It's because I spent so many years duking it out online with Jordan Peterson dick riders who were some of the most unimaginably annoying assholes that I literally picked up on his mannerisms and his voice and all of his arguments. Some of which are in here as fans of mine now, luckily, because they've changed their mentality over the course of the 2014 all the way to like the 2020 era. I've been saying the truth about Jordan B. Peterson for years, almost 10 fucking years now. I mean, since he first popped off in like 2014, 2015. It's very frustrating to see him still try to revitalize this exact same grift with the exact same standards, with the exact same talking points in 2023, because the cycle wore itself out only to rear its ugly head again now that Joe Biden is president and, like, you know, liberalism has taken root in society.
You should be a proxy for the world, maybe a slightly more merciful proxy, but basically the message you send your kids about their behavior is the same message